Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. John Kelly, profiler here, and welcome. Thanks for tuning in this afternoon. Today, we're going to be talking about the killing nurse. I call her the demon of death, to be honest with you. Heather Pressdee. And I have to make this known that she is absolutely innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. No question about it. Even though looks like she's got quite a resume of death here. And at this time, I want to send our deepest condolences and sympathies out to all the murdered victims, their families, and their friends. It's horrible, what the victims went through in a place that's really supposed to care for them, and a woman who is supposed to show them that care and concern. But anyway, I'm excited today because I have my friend and colleague with me, Tim Braun. Okay, I'm honored. I mean, for those of you that don't know Timmy is a North Jersey homicide detective. I mean, an unbelievable homicide detective that I've had the privilege to work with on a few cases. Okay. And I'll tell you, and just to talk to him enlightens me. I always learn from Timmy, always, okay? And you may be familiar with Timmy. Timmy's been on 60 Minutes, one of the only people I know that got a half hour on 60 Minutes. So 30 minutes dedicated to him and the case that he was featured on, the Charles Cullen Angel of Death case down in New Jersey. But Timmy also, has been on many other shows as well. And, very well known for the movie The Good Nurse. Okay. Timmy and his partner arrested Charles Cullen and stopped Charles Cullen's murderous campaign in New Jersey. And there was some even in Pennsylvania. But Timmy stopped them, okay? Bottom line, where that guy is killing right through till today. And like I was telling Timmy, this guy would have never even retired from his job because he liked killing. I believe he liked killing so much. He was so addicted to it. And we're going to talk about that, okay? For those of you that want to get in touch with Timmy, there's going to be a link up in the description, Braun Consulting. Braun Consulting. He's got some workshops, some seminars he's doing around the country. You want to contact Timmy for anything, for any kind of expert work. He's an expert in all things death. I know it's crazy putting it that way, but pretty much all things death, and even on abuse in nursing homes, hospitals. He specializes a lot in just about anything that has to do with homicide or abuse. Really something to put down. Keep his link close to you in case you ever need him, or you want any information, or you'd like to attend one of his workshops or seminars. You will not be disappointed. Believe me when I tell you, I put my word on him. Okay, he's the best at what he does, and he doesn't stop. All right. So with that all being said, and again, Braun Consulting, we want to make sure we have a link up there, which I know we do. Okay. Timmy, how you doing? How are you?
Very good, John. Very good. Nice sunny day here for November 7th. Time is flying by.
Time is flying by. What I'm really, I was thinking last night, I was thinking about the various shows you've been on. Do I have it right? Katie Couric too?
Yes.
Katie Couric show.
Yeah.
We got 60 Minutes. We've got the movie The Good Nurse. Okay, the movie of The Good Nurse, in showing you and your partner catching Charlie Cullen and that whole investigation. I mean, the actor that played you in the movie was really good. He's a really good actor. I mean, I thought that was very, very well done, and anybody out there should consider taking a look at it if they haven't seen it. The Good Nurse, and nurses are supposed to help us when we go in the hospital, not kill us, right? It's that simple. But Timmy, the one thing that was jumping out at me, I go back all the way to one of the first shows you were ever on. You and I were on it together. Geraldo. That's how far back we go, Tim.
Yeah.
You and I were on Geraldo doing a show, and God knows how many years ago that was, because he hasn't had a show in a long, long time, But so we've been friends for many, many years, and again, I'm honored to have him on today, and really a great colleague and friend. Timmy, can you? What's your first take on this lady? You've worked Charles Cullen. They don't get any bigger than him. This lady, was on her way. Looks like she worked 5 years in nursing. They're saying now she killed for 3 of those years. She didn't kill for the whole 5 years. They're saying only 3 of those years. I'm a little bit up in the air over that. Okay, but in 3 years she's got 19 bodies. Let's say. Okay, if she's guilty, and again, she has to be, she's innocent until proven guilty. So, where would she be only 3 years into the job? Where would she be 5, 10 years from now? I mean, just tell me how you feel, what you see, just looking at this through the eyes of Tim Braun.
Well, from the information that I've been privy to, and namely, that information comes from affidavits that were submitted by the investigators from the case, 2 separate arrest affidavits for probable cause. And they're very detailed. The first one, affidavit, was regarding her original arrest back in May of this year, where she was charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. And then this most recent affidavit was filed just this past Friday. I believe it was November 2nd. Don't hold me to the date. This past Thursday or Friday. And that is very detailed. And in that, it's outlined that she's responsible for the deaths, or basically attacks on upwards to 19 patients of hers over the course of the past 3 years. She's been a nurse for nearly 5 years, 4.5, 5 years prior to her arrest in May. And I have some, I believe some of this may have started as shortly after she came into the nursing field. That's my belief. There's a strong potential that there's more victims out there.
The other part of it is the anger. The anger outbursts. I mean, something you brought up. Charlie Cullen was pretty much had internalized anger. Pretty much wasn't a talker, bragger, blabber, whatever. Just silently went about his way of murdering. Okay. And this lady here, what do you make of her? I mean, she's got this anger and rage flying all over the place, talking about killing the pizza delivery guy, talking about killing somebody who was in front of her at Taco Bell, telling her mother she might need to give some guy at work, some poor patient, some pillow therapy. I mean, they have all these texts between her and her mother. I mean, what do you make out of that? I mean, seeing somebody just, so talkative, so boisterous about their murderous rage, and just, talking about it whenever she feels like it. I mean, this is like, something pretty strange. Usually, killers are trying to hide or cover their tracks or whatever. This lady's like, hey, look it, don't mess with me, I'll kill you, and I mean, don't even hold me up waiting to eat at Taco Bell. I want my taco. I mean,
Yeah.
don't, I'll kill you, I mean, what's the difference you see between her and Cullen?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. Cullen, he had the internal silent rage within him that he kept to himself and to himself only
Mhm,
until he finally confessed,
mhm,
ultimately confessed to us, and then the floodgates opened with him. But it appears with this Presti, she she was open to people around her about her desires to harm and kill patients of hers
mhm, mhm.
under her care, which is, you know, you add, you have red flags. You see red flags with these people, and her red flags were, open and evident to those around her. And it is documented so far that there were several instances where coworkers had very strong suspicions that she was killing patients in her care. So, you know, it's, you know, like you said, most people, they don't openly talk about these type of desires or things that they're committing that they want to lay low so they can continue their, the path that they're on. But Presti here, she just put it out there. It's to me sounds like quite unusual.
Yeah, and it's interesting you used the word desire, right? And I totally agree with that. And people usually desire things that are pleasurable to them, things that are important to them. Desires certainly lead to fantasies. Okay. And as we talked about, or you brought out with Charlie Cullen, I mean, he got something out of the murder. Okay. He got something out of it, some kind of self-gratification, some kind of built-in antidepressant. I don't know what the hell he
The
got.
stimulation, there was stimulation
Stimulation,
involved. Uh,
stimulation is major, because that stimulation, I mean, what does an antidepressant do? It's stimulating. I mean, what do certain drugs do to stimulate? What And the drugs used for depression, which you brought up, he probably suffered from, right, Charlie Cullen? I mean,
mhm.
that stimulation could help him out of his depression. It could soothe,
Right.
that depression. But getting back to her desires that you focused on, I mean, let's take a look at that, because that could lead into fantasy. So she's getting this power and control trip, from my point of view, based on what we have so far, that is somehow soothing or stimulating this anger in some way. I mean, it's there's something she's getting out of it, some kind of power trip, control trip. I call it a God trip when I've run across these people. And I've had serial killers tell me there's no higher high than being the last word over whether you live or die. I mean, but when you talk about that stimulation, I mean, and the desire, you know and you've brought out about an addiction,
Mhm.
how serial murder is an addiction. And you and I have talked
Yeah.
about obsessive compulsive disorder, like a lot of people
Yeah.
call it obsessive compulsive. um you know Me coming from the addictions field to begin with, I realized that obsessive compulsive behavior is another word or term for addiction. But, you know, the
Exactly.
mental health people didn't want to use
Right.
it. So they stayed with obsessive compulsive. They wanted to separate, mental health wanted to separate themselves back in the day from the addictions field, because the addictions field was like a no-no. You know what I mean? That's why it's all anonymous. Because it was looked at. People were looked at being, you know, bad people, or shameful people, or stuff like that. And, yeah, but when you look at that obsessive compulsive behavior and you look at that addiction, I mean, talk about that, because you got it right from the horse's mouth. You know, you have the story on how Charlie Cullen even talked to you about that.
Yes, he did. And in fact, that he told us several times, and throughout his confession, his original confession, he even stated that he could not stop himself from
That's
killing,
addiction.
and if he could, if he was not stopped when he would have continued.
Mhm.
Uh, and that confession was, within a day after his arrest, that we were able to sit with him for 7 hours and go through his career of killing. We subsequently, were with him quite a bit after his arrest,
Mhm.
uh, for months, upwards to probably close to 2 years, trying to close out other cases. We had regular contact with him, and he told us often, or several times at least, that he could not stop. It was exactly that: the compulsion, the obsession, uh, which I correlate with addiction, that he could not control, much like an alcoholic, much like a drug addict, a gambler, someone, with a sex addiction, even shopping. Those addictions, pick anyone. People can't control their, you know, the need for whatever, stimulates them, I guess. So, and in this case, with Cullen and others, serial killers or arsonists. We're going to talk about arsonists, rapists. Again, compulsion, and obsession that can't be controlled. Shoplifters, you can pick anything, something that stimulates someone that they cannot control their urges and desires to commit whatever that addiction is.
Yeah, and you know, we go back to what you said in the beginning, the desire, right? So, you know, the desire for the stimulation that makes you feel good, okay, that you're going to get some kind of soothing or self gratification from, right? I mean, anger, you know, constant anger, obsessive anger is really toxic. It really can mess up the body. Somebody walking around angry all day, right? So lots of times, you know, people take a drink to bring them down, do a drug to bring them down, to help, you know, give them a break from that anger, something to soothe it, right? To medicate it, right? So, you know, you desire that drug or drink or gambling or whatever the hell takes you out of it, right? So you could see when you talk about the desire with Presti, right? I mean, you could see how she's always enraged, always angry, seems. So that's got to be at some level very, very uncomfortable. So now the desire to get out of that and then focusing on the addiction, right? Her addiction or obsessive compulsive, you know, planning the whole ritual. And she had a ritual, I'll guarantee you. I don't know what it was, but she had a ritual that she would go about, you know, to you know, take somebody's life, to kill somebody. But you know what's really wild? When when you're seeing addictions, usually it's to feel good. Like I'll say, well, why are you getting high? Why are you doing this? Or whatever. And they'll say, well, to feel good. Okay. Well, we now we go to a serial killer like Pressdee, right? Charlie Cullen, right? So they are actually, and lots of times I'd say, well, feel good. What does feel good mean? And sometimes I'd get, well, I feel more open, more stimulated, more alive when I do my drug of choice or whatever, right? But with serial killers, if that is in fact true, they're killing to feel good because that stimulation makes them feel good, right? And to
Sure.
feel alive. It's like an oxymoron. I'm killing to feel alive, right?
They're
To feel good.
feeding the addiction.
Yeah. I mean,
They're
they're just
feeding.
feeding that addiction. They need that fix. And
Right.
unfortunately, that fix, somebody's got to go.
Right.
I mean, or they're going to
That's
try
it.
and kill somebody, you know?
That's
I
it.
mean, what do you think about the conversations, the text messages back and forth with her mother? Do you think that's the mother had any idea of any of this, or it was just because something you brought up earlier, like people say, "Oh, I'll kill that guy," or "I'll kill him," but boy, he's pissing me off. I want to kill him, or I want to choke him, or shoot him or something, right? But I mean, there's some humor to it, or they're not really having ideations of going over and committing that kind of murderous act to just making that statement because they're pissed because the guy got in their way or held them up or a
Right.
woman did something to them, right? So, I mean, when you look at that, right, could you see? I mean, I could honestly see the mother just, oh, well, this is my daughter, she's just pissed off or
Right.
she's angry. She's been angry girl, because she's been angry a long time. This just didn't start. I'll tell you that. I'll bet money on that. But
Yeah.
what do you say about that?
Well, I think you kind of said it with the mother there. It hard to
Yeah.
tell, obviously, without speaking with her or you know getting to know mom a little bit. But I might think, without any background here on her, that she was just listening to her daughter just ranting. She may have been ranting for years and
You
just blowing it off,
guaranteed.
basically kind of
Guaranteed.
blowing it off, not not believing that she's actually committing or following through with her rants
Right.
of harming people. Uh,
Right.
like you said, there was references to a Taco Bell clerk, pizza, pizza person, you know, she's ticked off because her order is not right. So she's, blowing up, you know, in rage, anger with her mother. Who knows? The pizza was cold. So she didn't get pepperoni on her pizza. She ordered pepperoni. It didn't come with pepperoni. So she's going to kill
you,
the guy who made the pizza. And
you
mom
must
says,
die. No
yeah,
pepperoni.
yeah. And mom's just writing it off. Okay, she's just blowing off steam, or who knows what. Uh, it, you know,
Absolutely. Go ahead.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I
So,
mean I mean it's we laugh because it's so kind of ridiculous because we've probably heard it a million times throughout our lives from other people saying, oh, I want to kill this guy for whatever reason, or but there's some kind of humor or something in it because the person doesn't really mean they're going to kill him. But
right,
this lady here, I mean, whoa. I mean, she seems like a really, really serious, woman. I mean, very serious woman. And then the other thing that you brought out too and he's brought out so much, folks. Remember Braun Consulting. Braun Consulting. We have a link up in the description. Check him out. Okay, check him out. A lot of good workshops coming up. So the point I'm trying to make here is that, you know, when she's running around and she's carrying on and everything, her mother's not there. Mother's not at work with her. Mother hears this stuff over through the text or whatever, maybe, and probably really doesn't realize how serious her daughter is. But, you know, these people at work that you brought up, right? The people at work knew, right? Some of them knew, right? So how come nobody intervenes? How come nobody intervenes? Where is her supervisor? I mean, she should have a supervisor. I mean, where are these people at, Timmy?
In several cases, she was the supervisor. She was the director of nursing. She was the acting director of nursing at a couple of these nursing homes. So she was that upper level person. And there is within the affidavit that, you know, she had been reported to administrators or executives within at least one or two of the facilities. And according to the affidavit, those who passed their suspicions up to their superiors didn't hear back, you know, about what may have happened. And in at least one case, an internal investigation failed to uncover anything of criminal nature or suspicious activity. I have my thoughts about that, but you know, that's one thing that stands out here. It stood out in Cullen's case. Once these complaints are up the ladder, so to speak, within the upper levels of these facilities or institutions, they seem to fall on deaf ears and get, in many cases, quite frankly, swept under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened with Cullen. And I actually see this here too. Things there's a strong possibility several of these facilities may have turned their back and closed their eyes on some of this activity.
You know something, the difference between this case and the Cullen case, okay? And I've got to give you all the credit in the world, and the audience needs to notice. You, Tim Braun, would not permit the case to go without the hospitals becoming accountable for what they did in passing Charlie Cullen around from hospital to hospital and not intervening, okay? They just let him go. And what they were sending out the door to another hospital, okay, was a serial killer. And that's just the way it was. And you would not permit it. You wouldn't allow it to go on, no matter how big these guys were. And we know these were big major medical centers out in New Jersey. You wouldn't permit it. You wanted it out there. It was that simple. They wanted to write a book about you. They wanted to do a movie about you. No way without that being in there. And I give you so much credit for handling it that way. I mean, I you know, it says a lot about your character because you really cared about the families. You cared about the victims. You cared about the, you know, all the people in all the catchment areas that were around all these hospitals, right? And how it affected them, right? And, you know, they needed to own up and be responsible for the role they played in, you know, with Charlie Cullen, and you made that happen. I just hope that happens here too. I just hope it happens because, the victims and their families need to hear it. They need to see, okay, people held accountable for their loved one being killed in a place that was supposed to take care of them and care for them. All right. And part of me wishes you were on this case, but I mean, I know you're going to be probably working with various attorneys, and probably being involved with the families, and I think that's probably the best position, I think, for you, because you know what to look for, what to tell attorneys to look for, how you can help the families, to get through this terrible time. I mean, what do you say about Braun Consulting? I mean, talk about Braun Consulting.
Well, before I do that, I got to give kudos to the investigators with the Attorney General's office in Pennsylvania. They so far as I can see, they've really done a very good job with the initial arrest, and just in the short few months since her arrest in May, that they were able to come up with nearly 20 additional victims at a few of these other nursing homes, and to do that takes a lot of work, a lot of documentation. There's just a lot that goes behind it. Even with her admissions, there's a lot of work that has to go be correlated with her admissions, to substantiate and verify that her admissions are in fact truthful. So to do that, there's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into it. And by the sounds of it so far, the investigators have done an excellent job in doing that so far. And I do believe there's other victims out there. They may, their investigation, I don't know, but I suspect is still ongoing. And then too, you have to look at the administrators here. Is there liability, criminal liability, for allowing this activity to continue? It was in our case in with Cullen that he was just passed along, and I am confident to say that 6 of the 11 places where Cullen had worked were aware of what he was doing, killing patients in their facilities and just passing him on. And I did, try to, during our case, I wanted to put the heat on the administrators, but unfortunately, we were shut down from that, from above my pay grade. And we're told basically just focus on Cullen. And unfortunately, in that case, there was flat out obstruction through by administrators. There was obstruction through their lying and covering up blatant to us and other law enforcement agencies. There should be other people sitting alongside Cullen in jail from the administrative and executive levels of these institutions that are responsible. I mean, he could have been shut down from the first hospital he worked at in his early career, that early. And I see a similar pattern with Pressdee here too. She too could have been shut down early on before this got out of hand. I mean, she was only out there, 4.5 years, but 4.5 years. That's, she did a lot of damage. And so.
Yeah, and you know something, when you talk about, wanting them to feel the heat, the way I look at it, you made them feel the heat. Those administrators out there, okay, in Jersey through Cullen, they may not have been held accountable, okay, criminally or anything, right? But let me tell you, Tim, I'm sure they felt that heat, because of your investigation. I mean, I have no doubt, that they were had some sleepless nights, if you will, wondering, if it wasn't going to work out for them the way they wanted it to. Believe me, when you talk about,
Unfortunately,
yeah, go ahead.
Unfortunately, that was never known to anyone outside the investigation until Charlie Gruber decided to, take on this book project, The Good Nurse. And he had worked on the book for 7 years before it was released in 2013.
Mhm.
And he approached me early on, and I was a little reluctant to speak to him, but I did have a stipulation that if he wanted to tell the story, that the whole story needed to be told.
I know
And
that.
the story behind the story, not just the serial killer. There was more to the story that had not been told at that point, and and that's where that needed to be told and brought out to the public and victims' families. That this person, Cullen, and I see similarities here with Presti, were just passed along from place to place to place, with people having knowledge of what both of them were doing, and that is sadly, that is not uncommon in healthcare, and not just with murder. Other offenses, especially in these nursing homes and elder care facilities. You get you get sexual assault, you get physical assault, and other abuses that occur, and go unreported outside. Nothing gets reported outside the facility itself, and when it should be, either to nursing boards or regulatory agencies and law enforcement when the acts are, of a criminal nature. They need to be reported. They go unreported. And the
It's
pattern,
unbelievable.
it is unbelievable because, these are only 2 cases. There's several more out there that have occurred over the years between Cullen and before Cullen, of course, but that I've become aware of. I'll say that that same pattern of concealment by administrators, covering up for murderers, and if people in high levels of these institutions are willing to cover up killers, you can't only imagine what else is being covered up, swept under the rug.
Excellent point.
So,
Now, can Braun Consulting help people that are, we have viewers watching, we have an audience out there, great audience, and we'd like the audience's feedback as well on what they think about this case, and what they think about a caretaker, a nurse, somebody that's supposed to make you better, killing you, in a hospital. What's your thoughts on this? What are your feelings on this? This kind of unethical murderous behavior taking place from a, medical professional. But Braun Consulting, okay, Braun Consulting can help people that have a problem with this. Is that what you're doing, or are you opening up? Is your practice opened up for that, or are you not?
Well, the name of the firm is Braun Consulting. The name of the website is Braun Consultant.
Oh, okay.
.com. And Braun Consulting was taken. So we put a little change on the name of the website as per the name of our firm, which is Braun Consulting. But yes, if when people have suspicions and are look for some place to go, we could, in many cases, help guide them. I do have a network of some medical professionals that I rely upon for their expertise, various expertise in medical record reviews, things of that nature, and toxicology, so and investigative areas also that come under that. So, if I can't help you, I can hopefully guide or direct you someplace that could. Because if you go to the institution itself, sadly, sometimes it falls on deaf ears and doesn't go anyplace within a facility or an institution. I mean, that's a starting place for you to go. But and if you go, you should document your concerns along with if you're going to speak with someone within a facility, you should also document it, your concerns, so that there is basically a paper trail to back that up.
And just jumping back to The Good Nurse, the book, The Good Nurse, your movie that you were in, The Good Nurse. The bottom line, and when we look at it, is, do we think that she read that book before she started killing? See, I would believe she did, because I know serial killers read books about serial killers for various reasons. They learn tricks, trade, they refine their craft, they get off listening and watching and seeing what other people have done to get away with it, right? And right. The question I have is, I think it's a possibility she read that book. Now, of course, the movie is a little different because the movie just came out, right? Not too long ago. This lady has been, running amok for almost 5 years, 4.5, almost 5 years. Says she's been killing for 3. But what's interesting to me too, we know it's a progressive illness. We know it only gets worse. It don't get better. The addiction to serial murder, right? And the other part of that is that if she was only killing for 3 years, she killed or hurt 19 people, or attempted to kill them within 3 years. They're all dead. So I don't know how they're going to serve it up, but 19 people she admitted to total in 3 years. So you think about that. What would her body count be in the next 3 years, right? If it's a progressive illness, what would it be in the next 3 years after that? Because see, that's what happened with Cullen. He kept progressing. He couldn't stop. He told you up close and personal he couldn't stop. Okay.
Hey, John, can I interrupt for one moment?
Sure.
I may take about 2 minutes. I have to run away for just 1 second.
No problem. Leah, cut it right there. So anyway, Tim, she turned around and, like I said, she killed 19. They got her for 19. in 3 years, where would she be? As I said, has this progressed over the years? Like with Cullen, it just progressed. God knows. I don't think anybody knows. I'm sure you've got a decent idea, but how many hundreds maybe were victims of his that he knows of, and who were victims of him that he don't know of, because he was making those hand grenade cocktails with the insulin and just letting other nurses distribute them. I remember that whole thing, right? So this woman even turned around. This is how bad this woman is. She even turned around to a disabled man there and said that he shouldn't live. He shouldn't be allowed to live. A man like that should die because he was disabled. He had brain damage. Okay. So she turns around and she mentions that, and then the next thing she's talking about, just killing these other people. It seemed like so laissez-faire, so running amok with her language. This guy has a disability, so kill him. Is a brain problem. I mean, this taco guy's bothering me. I got to get rid of him. This pizza delivery guy's bothering me. I got to get rid of him. Now, something else that we came across, I thought was interesting. I've got to learn more about this. Supposedly, her mother has diabetes, and she was fixing her mother with her diabetes. So that's of interest to me. Again, I got to look at that.
Well, that gave her some being familiar with. Excuse me, being familiar with the disease of diabetes.
Okay,
it gave her a little more background and knowledge, having experience on a personal level.
Yeah, she didn't, and she had the experience, and she didn't discriminate. In the beginning, we thought maybe just men, right? I did anyway, but no, she didn't discriminate. I mean, men, women, no problem. If you pissed her off, or if she had a case of the ass for whatever reason, I mean, look out, here she comes, she's going to hurt you. Leah just brought up a great question. You mentioned about people that have this happening to one of their loved ones in a hospital setting or in a healthcare setting. If there's any kind of maltreatment going on there, you brought up, well, you can go to the place, and that's your first step. Go to the facility and complain to the powers to be there, the administration, about your loved one being, kind of mistreated, right? Okay. Right. Now, as we know, you brought out too that, that doesn't really go too far lots of times, right? And you don't get satisfaction. At that point in time, where do you go? Do you go to the cops for satisfaction?
Possibly. It's hard to say. Each case or each situation is different. So there's not a necessarily a one-size-fits-all type of remedy. There are different avenues to take for different situations. So it's dictated by the situation at hand. It may not be a criminal matter. In some cases it could be an accidental occurrence or just a natural occurrence. So not every time a loved one may experience a situation in a facility is it a criminal matter. So you can't wouldn't run to the police for everything. So there could be a few steps prior before that takes place.
And hopefully somebody would intervene at the medical facility to give you some kind of satisfaction, right? That's the home run, right?
Well, and sometimes you have to be, yes, You are correct there, but also take it with a little bit of uh, I want to be careful, say skepticism, because I'm not saying everybody's trying to get over on you, but they're also protecting themselves. When you just hand it over to them, they're looking out for their interest also. So you do want to take it, to the next level in the facility, but you also want to verify, what their findings are, and if they in fact are accurate or inaccurate to satisfy, what you're looking for.
And like you said, you brought out some good points about not everything's about murder. I mean, you've got all kinds of other unethical abuse and malpractices taking place that need to be brought out into the light.
Absolutely.
Right? So
Absolutely.
that's very, very important, for us to understand that. Is there anything else you want to talk about or any points you want to make before we start to break?
Nothing off the top of my head. I'm sure there will be, once we get offline here, but that's always the way.
There's we always remember something afterwards.
There's a lot here. This is the second phase of their, I believe is their ongoing investigation, second wave, so to speak. And I would think that this is still definitely an active, ongoing case. Whether they're prepping for trial, there may potentially there could be a plea agreement in place right now, which is allowing her to, speak with investigators, with the approval and probably the participation of her attorneys. So there's probably something in the works here that are already in the works, but there will come a point in the future, near or far, depending, that there will be a sentencing phase here where she will go before the court and receive her sentence. So that's probably coming up. Well, that is coming up in the future, of course, but when, I don't know, that's for sure, but that's coming up.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll learn a lot more on what made this woman tick, by then. Okay, because that's what I'm really wondering. Why are you so enraged? I mean, with any serial killer, when you boil it all down, to the nth degree, you're dealing with rage, right? And then you're dealing with, of course, the addiction that's soothing or, stimulating, but soothing that rage, right? Or giving him his feel good, And the bottom line is, I want to find out. I'm trying to find out what's going, what made this lady do this. We've never had a nurse. There's been a number of nurses that have been serial killers. They've got the highest body count among serial killers. Nurses, have the highest body count.
Nurses and other medical professionals. There are a few doctors.
Other medical professionals. There's a doctor over in England. They claim he's got 350 or whatever. I think it's Dr. Heidi, then I think his name is.
Or Shipman. There's a Shipman in there.
Shipman. That's it. Yeah. You got it. Shipman. And the other side of it is, we've never seen any of them, just that we know of, just stop. I mean, the only way they stop is when they're caught, I mean, it's that we know of, or else, we'd be hearing more about it. I think even if there were 30 deaths somewhere, they'd be investigated, you would think, but like you brought out, Tim, a lot of this stuff swept under the rug by powers to be, like you said, above your pay grade. I mean, you're dealing with
Well,
major places and medical centers and everything. Um,
well,
so is there
here's
anything else?
something, John.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there is actually, we're speaking about this, and you brought up, we spoke about Shipman over in England, I believe.
Yeah.
There is a recent case of a young nurse in her mid-20s over there in England who was a neonatal nurse with the critically ill infants and newborns, who was killing newborns and infants over there. And one of the issues there are the same, that I experience, and what is likely happening here with Presti is, again, the the hospitals covering up. That's a big focus now of an ongoing investigation over there in England, with the same pattern that we see here in the States of hospital administrators, obstructing, covering up. Uh, it, it, there is a pattern, and you'll hear, and we heard, in the Cullen case, they come out post arrest and make these proclamations publicly to the media and whoever else will listen, that their priority is a priority of ours is patient safety. And I hear that, and the thing I hear is it sounds like a little bit of a word game. You listen to what they say and how they say it. They'll say patient care is a priority. Okay, patient care is a priority. It is not the priority. See, I know it sounds like a little bit of a word game, but healthcare is a business. And the priority of any business, corporate business, is profit. Profit is money.
Absolutely.
And when they say patient safety is a priority, they're not saying patient safety is the top priority. They almost speak like politicians. You have to listen to how they word things too. So they give themselves a little bit of wiggle room. But if they were to say, patient safety is the priority instead of a priority, again, it sounds like word games, but there's meaning to that. So yeah, throw that out there.
I'll tell you, I can't thank you enough for coming on today. And folks, again, Braun Consulting, go up to the consulting, however they have, or just go to our description, and in the description, you'll see a link for Timmy if you want to get in touch with him. He welcomes everyone. As you could tell, he's an unbelievable professional. You've heard it right from him. He knows it all. There's no question about it, pretty much all of it. And I just want to bring out again to our audience out there that if you have any questions for us, or you have any comments on the show we did today, good, bad, or indifferent, please send them over. We're always interested in your comments. You know how I am about that. I'm very interested in your comments. We always prefer your subscriptions too. We'd like you to subscribe if you want to subscribe. But most importantly, we want to know what you think about the show. We want to know what you think about this case. Okay, because this case, as far as I'm concerned, isn't over by a long shot. I think Timmy and I both agree there's probably more out there, that haven't been identified yet. But time will tell, and we shall see. So anyway, Tim, thank you so much for coming on today. I can't thank you enough.
My pleasure, John. Thank you.
To our audience, thank you so much for allowing us in your home. We really appreciate it. Most importantly, stay on your toes out there. These are very, very rough and violent times. And just take care of yourself and have a good day. And until we talk again, God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.